So, good morning everyone. My name is Pablo Jaramillo. I am a PhD student at the Department of Agricultural Education and Communication at Texas State University. Today, I will be presenting about agricultural education and migration, the cases of El Salvador, Honduras, and Ecuador. I did this research with the support of Dr. Carla Millares Forno and Dr. Boren Alpa. So, I'm going to start to briefly describe a little bit about migration. Migration is a problem that has been, or it's like an issue that has been worldwide, and it doesn't have like a start and it's continuing. According to the United Nations, youth is defined as a period of time from the childhood to the adulthood, in which is going to be ranged in between 15 and 24 years old. You are the most mobile group worldwide. And it is expected that by 2030, there's going to be around 1.3 billion people worldwide. And the principal things that we need to address is satisfy their human necessities. Also, in the case of Latin America, 50% of youth have expressed a desire to leave their communities. So there's a huge room as agricultural educators to understand the importance of youth and the importance of migration in rural areas. So just to give you a background, Salvadorian and Honduran migration is a well-known problem. We know that there has been a lot of investment in the northern triangle of Central America. Different reasons or different drivers have been considered as poverty, violence, insecurity, and family reunification. In the case of Ecuador, we also are having, because I'm an Ecuadorian, are having some migration issues, but the principal causes are environmental degradation, community disputes, and lack of education and employment opportunities in rural areas. So as you may notice, in the map are the three countries that we consider for this research. Okay, so the student aims to identify and compare migration intentions of high school students from the three countries. So as part of the project, we divided in one community is going to be one group with agricultural education program and the other community with a non-agricultural education program. So we want to compare the both groups. So we replicate the system in the three countries, in El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala, and with the objectives to compare the intention to migrate by country, by academic program, and also to determine the main interaction effects of country, origin, academic program, gender, and intention to migrate based on the different migration drivers. So as part of the migration drivers, we consider, I'm going to talk about later on, I'm going to provide a deeper understanding. So as I explained before, here is the methodology. We have the three countries, and it's divided by agricultural and agricultural program. In total, we have 408 participants. The methodology, so to accomplish the objectives, it was the first, we implement descriptive statistics to understand how was the people who participate in this study. We implemented independent chi-square to compare migration intentions depending on country of origin and depending also on academic program. And we implemented a 2x3x2 Factorial Anova to examine the main interactions between country of origin, academic program, and intention to migrate, depending on the migration drivers. As complementary, we implement different ANOVAs to see where was the difference between the 8 migration drivers. So the findings of this research, most of the participants were females. This pattern was followed by Ecuador and Honduras. In El Salvador was quite different. There were more participants that were males. In El Salvador, most of the participants selected that men was the family head, and in Honduras was the opposite. They selected that woman was the family head. Also, in socioeconomic status, most of the participants of El Salvador selected that it was in a poor condition, some poor economic status. In the case of the other two countries, they explained that it was in a middle socioeconomic status. So here's the findings of the first objectives, compare student intention to migrate. So as I said before, we conducted a chi-square. So the chi-square was significant. As you can see in the screen, Salvadorians are more willing to migrate than the other two countries. So it was like the intention to migrate divided in yes, I don't know, or the undecided, I know, and we compared by the three countries. So that was the first objective, and it was a significant difference between the groups. And the second one, we compared by those who were in agricultural and non-agricultural educational program. So as you may know, in the first figure, the one that is in my right, we can see that people who are in agricultural education program are less willing to move to other places, and people who are not in a non-agricultural educational program, they are more willing to move. So it's important to highlight this because, as you may notice, investing in agricultural program is reducing or could reduce migration in northern triangle of Central America. So so after that we implemented Factorial Anova, comparing by the different migration, the different variables, independent variables, country origin, academic program, migration intentions, gender, and the interaction of these variables, finding that they were significant for migration drivers. So as part of the migration drivers, we consider residential satisfaction, we consider social participation, we consider dispute, social expectations, among others I'm going to explain in the next one. So as you can see here, they were selected the ones who were significant for intention to migrate because that was the purpose of the study. Even though we can find out also country origin and academic program was also significant for the migration drivers. So it's important to highlight that as part of the postdoc, it shows you that environmental impact, access to education activities, social support, and social expectations were significant between the groups. So it's important because it's showing us that these migration drivers is influencing the intention to migrate of youth. So as part of the postdoc, it says that Honduran youth undecided, in part of the number 4, that is like the interaction between country origin and intention to migrate, is showing us that Honduran youth undecided to migrate have higher environmental impact than those who do not have intention to migrate. So that is important because it will give us a little understanding of what is happening. Maybe it's due to environmental issues why they are willing to move, and so that could be a variable that we can consider for future projects. So in the case of environmental impact, it was not found significance in the post-hoc analysis. It could be maybe because one-for-one test could be sometimes very strict. So that's, but we decided to select that one because it was accurate to the research that we were doing. Okay. So the conclusions of this is previous research indicated the willingness to migrate from people from El Salvador more than people from Honduras. This research is important because we have this is a population, or this is a sample that are not sure what they're going to be doing. So it's important because as agricultural educators, we can look and we can invest in them. So if we know that there are some people who are not sure what they're going to be doing, maybe investing in agricultural education programs could be one of the solutions to solve this migration problem. Also, it's important that highlight what I said before, that people in agricultural education program are less willing to move outside their communities. So that could be a solution, or that's going to be important to consider in future research to evaluate agricultural education programs in these areas. And as recommendation, it's going to be important to evaluate or to replicate this study in other communities in El Salvador, Honduras, and all Latin America to see that if it's just a case study or just focus in these specific areas, or it's going to be something that has been in all the communities around these countries. Also, it will be important to implement a qualitative study to understand a little bit more what is happening here. Maybe that could give us an understanding of the phenomena under the migration problem, and also could help us to go a little deeper, maybe there could be another thing that is not addressed by this quantitative study. And since we know that the access to extension of activities was significantly different in the intention to migrate, it will be important that future studies should explore the effects of extension programs on youth intentions. So I think that that's mainly what I want to highlight, because as part of this research, it has shown that the importance of agricultural education in youth in El Salvador, Honduras, and Ecuador. We are also looking to replicate this study in other countries as Colombia, as Guatemala, to know a little bit more about how is youth in these countries. So I think that that's going to be.
Great. Questions for Pablo? Yeah, you want to talk? Yeah.
Pablo, you're so awesome. Good job. In your research preparing for this, I think this is a fascinating topic, and Department of Homeland Security has done quite a bit of work on this too, and they call it push and pull factors.
Yes.
Can you tell us maybe what some of the literature has told us previously with other things, where things that are elements may be pushing on anecdotally outside of their country and pulling into another area through migration?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So previously, I did research about the migration intentions in indigenous Lencas in Honduras, and I used the push and pull factor as part of it. So I think that the push factors in this case are gonna be the one that I explained at the beginning, the environmental issues. They know that they are in risk. There are a lot of situations where they are unsafe, so that could be one of the causes. Also, as part of the research that I did with Lenca indigenous women, I found that gangs are pushing people like to go and join to their gangs. So that's one of the things that is pushing them to move. Like, and the pull factor is how they perceive. Like, for instance, we know that talking about the US and Europe, you're gonna be in a safe place. They perceive that they're gonna find job opportunities. So that's why they are willing to move to these places, because they know that this gonna have some benefits to the person who's moving, and could have some benefits also to the family as a whole.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about the age group of students? I know you said they were in an ag program or not in an ag program, but you would also describe youth as up to 24.
Yeah.
So the people actually in your study, what age are they?
Due to IRB, so we consider people who were 18 above, because it was required that. So that's what mainly. So it was between 18 to 25.
Yes.
The person who participated in this study.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's very helpful to do cross-national research. Like, you don't see that all the time. So in your overall findings, it was which country? Was it El Salvador that had the highest intent? Yeah. What do you think is big picture going on compared to the other countries?
That's a good question. So I think that is gonna based on like what is happening in El Salvador. We know that there's like two main gangs. There's gonna be Mara Salvatrucha and Mara 18. So maybe that will be one of the causes that is making people to try to move. Also, as I explained before, one could be the pull factor. We know that there's gonna be some family reunification, so they're gonna be willing to move to the other places. But comparing El Salvador and Honduras as the migration intentions, it's gonna be hard to explain about that. Maybe it could be also that in El Salvador they were struggling many times with some insecurity, like regarding the politicians, regarding the government. So that could be one of the things that is causing them to move outside.
Other questions?
Pablo, just a comment. This is the kind of research and the kind of results that have the ability to sway political dollars. And Dr. Elliott was just talking about the current administration is putting a lot of money into the Northern Triangle to help alleviate some of these issues. this is the kind of information that needs to be on policymakers' desk when they start allocating that money. And I don't know the correct avenue to get it there, but it's the kind of thing that, as a profession, we need to do a better job of taking stuff like this that's impactful and get it to the people who can put the money behind it.
Thank you, Doctor. We also, as part of this research, we published the comparison between El Salvador and Honduras, so if you want to, more than welcome to share. We decided to include Ecuador as part of this research, and maybe still adding more countries to know about a little bit of Latin America and to compare them. And I think it's going to be important, as you said before. I know that the investment of the U.S. government is investing a lot right now in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras due to the migration issue that they are struggling with. So maybe a future study will be to include Guatemala as part of this comparison, because that will bring a little bit more understanding what is happening in that places.
One more quick one, and you might have covered it and I missed it, but was there a higher concentration of youth that were engaged in agricultural programs in one country versus another?
Yeah, so I collected the data in Honduras and Ecuador, and it was hard to find like agricultural programs in those places. However, there has been an investment in agricultural programs. It's not like as formal as you can find in the US, but they are still like doing it on it. So I think that Ecuador was hard to find like an institution that is working. Like it was difficult also to find like in a specific community, because we are looking for rural communities. So to find in a specific rural community that they are providing agricultural programs was hard to find. But yes, there are some of them in Latin America.
All right. Thank you, Pablo.
Thank you.